Thank you to Kenzie Bruce for his incredibly generous support on Patreon. Lysa versus Tori, Yannette and Aminatu. We've got our colours a bit of ramp. We're going to run out of cards pretty quickly if we don't draw into anything, but no real reason to ship that back. Okay, and we've already had a scoop because it's Magic Online. So just left with Aminatu and Yannette up against a couple of Esper players, and it's Authority of the Consuls for us. Okay, and we draw into a D-Spark. We see from Yannette a Sensei's Divining Top. Yeah, let's just go for a Swamp into the Talisman of Hierarchy. And then the white mana can hurt us there, and we'll go for the Soul Warden, soon make that life back. Preordained from Aminatu. Managed to make another land and get himself into a Sol Ring. Yannette obviously spins the top at the end of the turn. And after that drops a Ghostly Prison on his turn. We just draw into another land annoyingly, so I suppose we're just holding up the D-Spark. I will get out a tap land with the fetch. Teferi, Master of Time from the Aminatu player, so I think it's safe to assume that this is a Super Friends deck. They go for the +1, which is a loot, getting rid of a Ghost Quarter. Going to give our opponent an opportunity to activate Teferi again here, but I think it might be worth a D-Spark onto that thing. It depends on if Yannette gets a creature down here. Spinning the top first. Then we see a Tainted Indulgence, draw 2 cards, then discard unless there are 5 or more mana values in your graveyard, which I doubt there is at this point, no. So it's draw 2 and they discard an Otherworldly Gaze, then cast a Brainstone. So in response, Teferi goes for the loot. So they got an extra card out of the Teferi and discarded an island, but I think it was worth waiting on the Esper player to see if he was going to hold up any kind of removal or play out a creature that can start swinging in over there. Anyway, we draw into a Signing Blood, I think. Yeah, well, we could have done with that last turn, but yeah, I think it's probably our commander here. So trigger the Soul Warden, we gain a life there, and I'll start swinging in at the Esper player to our left now. And we've seen a Soul Talisman being exiled as well, so the first time counter being removed from there. And that is a Sorin Grim Nemesis from our opponent. And they go for revealing the top card. Revealed a Dam with that, so yeah, I assume there's going to be lots of board wipes in this deck because it's Super Friends, and yeah, that's what Super Friends does, unfortunately. Surprisingly, Yannette being played into the board wipe. Comes down tapped thanks to our Authority of the Consuls, so we gain 2 life here. Another Plains for us, so I'll go for the Signing Blood before we attack, and we'll see if we can get into anything relevant there. We lose 2 life to our own Lysa as well. And then a further 2 life to the Signing Blood, and there is a Resplendent Angel. And we are about to gain a decent chunk of life here, so play out the Resplendent Angel, gain 1 life from the Soul Warden, and then we'll gain a further 5 life from Lysa hitting this Sorin. Unfortunately, Sorin is going to survive here, but I'll swing both creatures in over there anyway. And then Resplendent Angel triggers at the end of the turn, of course, so we get a 4/4 Vigilance Flyer. Just need to hope that our opponent holds off on the Dam, but yeah, I'm not hopeful that they will. Maybe get out another Planeswalker here. They certainly plus on the Sorin first, and then we see an Ashiok Nightmare Muse. And yeah, I was hoping that they weren't going to pull the trigger that soon, but they do go down to 4 cards and wipe the board here. So the thing to do really would have been to hold up the Teferi's Protection instead of getting down the Angel. Sensei's Top spinning at the beginning of the upkeep, and it's a Psychic Corrosion. So we're going to try and get some mill on the go over that side. Alright, and a Lightning Greaves for us, so alright, so we replay the Lysa and play the Lightning Greaves that we just drew into, and we can finish off that Sorin, assuming that there's no kind of removal that can go onto the Lysa here. Actually turned out quite nicely for us, because it did turn out that our opponent felt the need to use the Dam, so not holding that over our heads for another few turns. Does mean that we're not piling on commander damage over at our opponent though. We successfully see the back of Grim Nemesis, and we are about to see the Soul Talisman here, I think. Just need to try and dodge a board wipe for another turn here, because we'll be able to hold up Teferi's Protection quite consistently from that point onwards. Seeing Aminatu the Fate Shifter, and going for the draw a card and put a card from hand on top, following that up with Narset, Parter of Veils. And that is going to see a Brainstorm from the other Esper player. So that does count as drawing 3 cards, which means that we each get milled for 2 3 times, which is obviously 6 in total. Doing that before Narset comes down because we can't draw more than 1 card each turn. once that has hit play. Then the Narset does minus down, they'll get some card advantage here most likely. Okay, surprisingly not revealing anything there, so that is a whiff on the Narset. Mystical Tutor during the upkeep for the net player. They go down to 27. Tutored out a Void Rend, so obviously know what they drew into this turn. Okay, we get into even more mana in Mana Crypt. Don't think that that's going to be all that much use to us, so just go straight through to attacks here. I'm thinking that the Esper player is going to want to get rid of the Narset with that Void Rend, so we'll force them to use it and go after the Aminatu instead. Surprisingly, you're not allowing the Narset, Parter of the Veils, to tick down again, so I'm kind of swimming against the tide here. My opponent's not helping me. So manages to get into another Planeswalker in Mu at Yanling. Excellent. Going for Ugin the Spirit Dragon first, so if they tick down on that, they'll be looking to get rid of their own Narset. And there is an offer you can't refuse from the Yannette player. Still has the Void Rend held up. Wow, really? Jesus. Magic Online. Sensei's top. And we get milled again during the draw steps, so Myriad Landscape, Painful Quandary were milled there. We've seen Shadow Spear, Villis, Grey Merchant, Cabal Coffers, Viscopa Guildmage, the Orzhov Signet as well. Wayfarer's Bauble going to continue to chip away at our opponent. Ugh, and we just draw into a land, so yep, play the Strip Mine. We could hurt our opponent's black mana here. Maybe they need double black. I imagine they're going for a black mana with the Wayfarer's Bauble. Anyway, we'll swing in at our opponent here. We'll have to pay 2 into the Ghostly Prison. But this 5 damage is actually going to be quite considerate, considering that they're going to take 2 life per spell they cast. Alright, so going for the Temple of Deceit, and now, thanks to the early scoop, the Void Ring can be used on the Lightning Greaves, which I have no doubt will be relevant. I actually might protect that with the Teferi's Protection because, yeah, that Lysa is going to be really tricky for our opponent. I'll go for that here. Our opponent spins the top in response. And this does mean that our opponent now doesn't get to go for the Wayfarer's Bauble on our turn, which I'm sure he would have liked to. So this will be a tap land for fixing the black mana. It's turn 9, so our opponent's had it pretty rough with mana over here, but that's pretty typical for Esper players. Spinning the top yet again, they have just shuffled, so seeing new cards on top. Our opponent can still mill us during the draw step, so this time it is a Farewell and a Demonic Tutor, and then playing out an Obscura Storefront, which can get him straight into a swamp again, so immediately fixing the black mana. Alright, and there we see an Austere command for ourselves, so could wipe out artifacts and enchantments with that. We would obviously suffer a little bit there, so we'll hold off on it for as long as possible. We just continue to swing in and pay 2 mana in order to do it. Not a particularly enthralling game. Does put our opponent on 10 points of commander, and they can only cast 6 more spells as it stands now. Spinning top during the end step this time. Milled a Swamp, and then a Bajuka Bog this time, so grateful to have those lands cleared off the top. Okay, and a Rune-Scarred Demon for our opponent. So that will probably have to be a Darksteel Mutation on there. Thankfully it comes in tapped, so we can get another hit in on our opponent. And we do gain a life with that as well. Our opponent does get to tutor though, unfortunately, so this is where I'm grateful that the Teferi's Protection protected our Lightning Greaves, because they could have gone for a Swords or something here. Might have bought ourselves just enough time with this one. Alright, awesome. There's a Bolas' Citadel for us, so we can stand to get some decent card advantage here. We'll swing him first. Make it so our opponent can only cast a few more spells. Obviously have to continue to put 2 life into the Ghostly Prison. We go up to 54 life thanks to the lifelink. We're about to get shocked a couple of times here, so it's Mana Crypt first of all. And then we go down to 50 life. And we will make enough black mana to cast ourselves a Bolas' Citadel. Don't have 10 non-land permanents because of the way the game's gone, but we might be able to by the end of this turn. Angel of Destiny first of all. So we pay 5 life and then lose 2 life to the Lysa. There is a land, it's a shuffle effect, so we might have to use that. Anguished Unmaking is, yeah, probably safe to use that on the Rune-Scarred Demon so we can swing in next turn. So we lose 3 life for casting it, 3 life to its resolution and 2 life to the Lysa. Might as well play Black Market Connections as well. And then we see a Sun Titan on top as well, so play out the Sun Titan. That can grab back probably the Angel that I threw away previously. And we have gained 5 life this turn, don't forget, from combat, so this thing will give us an Angel at the end of the turn. A Court of Grace is on top now, and we're already plummeting down to 16 life. We become the Monarch when the Court of Grace enters, and we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 non-land permanents here. So we can go for the Bolas' Citadel, but I'll get some more permanents out first, just in case we see a counterspell, a stifle or something from our opponent. They've only got 1 card in hand, but best to just play it safe. An Urborg on top, so we'll shuffle that away with the Marsh Flats. That allows us into a Haunt of Hightower, so we'll get that down. That will send us plummeting down to 2, and then we can activate this Bolas' Citadel. So we'll sacrifice the Bolas' Citadel. Definitely sacrifice Mana Crypt and the Pain Mana Rock. Get rid of Court of Grace. Marauding Blight Priest, the Angel of Destiny, Lightning Greaves, and the Black Market Connections, and the Authority of the Consuls. And yeah, why don't we just get rid of Lysa as well, because we can replay that. And therefore Bolas' Citadel has each of our opponents lose 10 life, so they go down to -5. Never had an opponent lose to that Bolas' Citadel before. Very rarely that it comes up, I just use it for card advantage mainly. So it wasn't a particularly enthralling game, but I think the last turn or two was quite interesting, so hopefully you all enjoyed the game as well, brief as it was. Also just seeing at the end of the video that Narise, the one who just played the net deck here, is a friend of the channel, so a big thank you to Narise for playing, and hopefully you enjoyed the game as well.